Welcome to another edition of Be the Change Georgia, where we amplify the voices of the inspiring business leaders surrounding the B Corp and social impact movements across the Southeast to help you learn how to build your legacy at the intersection of people, planet, purpose, and profit. Today, there are more than 8,000 B Corps in over 80 countries and 180 different industries, unified by one common goal: transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. If you want to learn how to plug into our purpose-driven business community alongside the inspiring leaders we feature on this show, check us out at belocalgeorgia.com or on Instagram or Facebook at belocalgeorgia, and we'll hope to meet you at our next event. Today, I'm joined by someone who is not only a brilliant storyteller, but also an old friend. Ashley Bryant is a messaging strategist, copywriter, and speaker who helps mission-driven brands turn clarity into a competitive edge. Through her company, Ashley Bryant Copy, she's partnered with B Corps, financial firms, and consumer brands to build trust, visibility, and traction without compromising their values. Ashley and I go way back to we're not going to tell you how far back we go, but we work together at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and she shares a hilarious story, to her at least, about our first meeting that you won't want to miss. But jokes aside, Ashley takes us on an incredible journey, from navigating a life-changing event when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis to making the bold move to China and relearning who she was, and eventually becoming an accidental entrepreneur back in the States. We get into the raw, unfiltered, and definitely uncensored truth of why so many brands get this wrong, and she challenges all of us with one simple, powerful question: why should I give a shit? This is an open and insightful conversation that you might want to put your earbuds in for, and you definitely don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Ashley Bryant, I don't know whether I'm excited or terrified to have you on the podcast, but welcome anyways.
Thanks. You're stoked. I know that you're stoked. Don't play with me. You're so stoked. I'm so stoked to be here.
It's going to be fun. This is going to be the most listened to podcast between two Enterprise alumni in all time of all time.
You think so?
Hopefully there aren't that many of them. Oh God. For those who don't know, Ashley and I used to work together way back when, and we reconnected a couple years ago. She came to Build Southeast and wowed everybody with a workshop or a panel. I can't even remember because there's so many Build Southeast. It was a workshop. At Build Southeast in Atlanta 2 years ago. And then this year we brought her back to Atlanta to help out with the cohort we were running out of the Russell Center. And slowly but surely, everybody's like, I love that one person, Ashley. She was great. And I was like, nah, she isn't. I was like, we talking about the same Ashley? So, but anyway, she's a brilliant storyteller, and I've wanted to have her on this podcast for a really long time, and an old friend. So, Ashley, what's up?
Hey, Nathan. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, and thank you for having me at Build Southeast last year, not 2 years ago, last year. And then having me, come hang out in Atlanta with cohorts and then just online with cohorts. It's been a good time.
Yeah, we've had fun. So I'm glad we reconnected. The scary part for me is that we did work together when we were like 20 something years old. So like the embarrassing stories of our 20s. Well, we'll just dive right in and start with that because you're somebody who's had a kind of like me, a life of many adventures.
Yes.
And well, technically I had a job before it, but you started your career at Enterprise with the slogan used to be, "We'll give you the MBA without the IOU." And then you got there and you realized I was going to be your manager, and you were probably like, "This is a bait and switch."
Wait, wasn't the tagline? That's what it was?
Yes, it was.
Oh.
Definitely was. Or I'm so old school that I started like 3 years before you, and maybe they'd gotten rid of it by then. But I remember that like nothing. The MBA without the IOU. But anyway, talk about your early career, and then talk about how terrified you were to meet me. Anyway, but yeah, I'd love to unpack, because again, I think it's a really cool, I wrote a whole book about my life of just like all these different, for the people out there that are like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, you've kind of had a route similar to mine where it's just like, I don't know, I got a job.
Yeah. No. So my career, my working career started in college. and that was retail. So, but then fast forward, so we graduate college, right? And I graduated at a wonderful time. I graduated December 2007, and we all know what was going on with the economy around that time.
Well, you were in a place with a really strong economy too, right? Las Vegas?
Super strong economy. We are always, what is it, the canary in the coal mine? We always, here
Hmm.
we go. And so, people should probably pay attention to what's going on in Las Vegas right now to see what's going to happen everywhere else. But we'll get into that later. Um, yeah, no, so I graduated UNLV 2007, journalism degree with focus in advertising, a little bit of marketing, and could not get a job really anywhere doing what it was that I wanted to do, which was advertising and marketing, because I just spent, 4.5 years getting a degree for that. And so I finally applied for enterprise rent a car because it was either that or, stay in retail, which I really did not want to do. So I hated my life for 3 years, but I did. I worked at enterprise rent a car, and Mr. Nathan was one of my first managers. I was at O4 before with Mo and Bernice and everybody, and it was wonderful. And I was only there for a little bit. And then they were like, you need to move branches and you're going to go to Nellis next to the Air Force Base. Because they need an MT there. And so I arrive, not excited, but I arrive, and our branch manager, wonderful Jen, she was like, wait until you meet Nathan. Everybody's like, wait until you meet Nathan. And it was different, there were different tones in those voices. Jen was always very excited, but everybody else was like, just wait until you meet Nathan. And I'm like, okay, Nathan.
And then there's probably one that was like, wait until you meet Nathan.
Rio, definitely. And it's like I was never on time. So it was like 7:35 in the morning. And I hear boom, boom, boom. Like, what is happening? And I see this silver, what was it? Mercury? You had a Mercury. Silver
Yeah,
Mercury,
Silver Mercury Milan.
Milan in the back. And here's this white man with a black and mild hanging out the window. His windows rolled down, and it's Lil Wayne.
Sunroof's open.
So, yeah, sunroof open, boom, boom, boom. And Jen was like, that's your assistant manager, Nathan. And I'm like, who is this white man with his chain on? The black and mild at 7:35 in the morning. We're never gonna be friends. I'm never gonna be friends with this guy. Like, this guy, are you kidding me? And you just like walked in like, hey, I'm Nathan. And like went to your
I'm Nathan. I'm here to sell some damage waiver.
exactly. I don't even think that you really like even acknowledged me until like later on in the day. And then fast forward, I was like, we're never going to be friends. This guy, I swear to God, what is happening here? Like, what kind of, where did I go wrong? How did I make like these life decisions that I ended up at Enterprise Rent a Car next to the Nellis Air Force Base and this man as my manager? And then a few weeks later, then we were friends. And now,
We were friends. Fast forward 20 years.
yeah, fast forward 20 years.
Look at us. Time flies when you're having fun. No, but it's super cool. Like, I love that we reconnected. And like, the cool part now is like watching your journey, like from where we were at that point. Like, I feel like both of us could have gone in any crazy direction, and you went and won. And then like, we'll move from the joking part of the conversation to then your life kind of got thrown on its head because you got a
Yeah.
crazy like medical diagnosis after months of like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, 100%. So fast forward, I decided to go back to school in Houston. Well, so I decided to go back to school for speech pathology, and I got into a program at the University of Houston. So I moved to Houston. Um, and a year into that program, I was like, I love children, but this is not for me. It takes a special type of person, and I am not that person. So I'm glad that I recognized that. Wish that I would have probably recognized it a little bit sooner because student loans. But that's okay. I did a lot of different things in between. Like, I think it was like a 2-year period. I was a bartender for a little bit. I went back to retail. I worked with a guy, and we did real estate and construction. I managed, like, project managed house flips back in the day. And then I landed at a energy company and was like, okay, finally, like everything's like I have like a stable paycheck. Like I'm not like being paid underneath the table. Like, everything's going to be good, right? Like everything's fine. Like I'm about to be 30, and 30 years supposed to be like the best years of your life, right? Like all of these things, 30, flirty, thriving. If you guys get that reference. But a couple of months before my 30th birthday, I've always kind of suffered with migraines and really bad headaches. And a friend of mine would always be like, friend, that's not normal. But it was my normal. And you don't know what everybody else's normal is. You just know what you're dealing with. But in those first couple like months, like, so my birthday's in March. So, December, January, February, I'm having dizzy spells as I'm sitting down. I'm having like numbness. Migraines are getting worse. Fatigue is like on 10, but I didn't know it was fatigue back then. I just thought I was tired. And everybody was like, you sleep a lot. Like, I know, but I'm still tired, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. And then, and I would go to doctors and they were just kind of, well, your blood work looks normal. Everything looks normal. And you just, as a person, you just explain things away. Like, oh, well, I didn't eat right, right? Like, oh, well, I do go to the gym twice a day. Maybe I should like not do that anymore and I should just go once a day. Maybe I should sleep because wasn't doing a lot of that, right? Like maybe I should do all of these things. Maybe I should eat better, whatever. And then one day, end of January, I woke up and I had numbness, like pins and needle numbness, on both legs from the knees down. And I had severe drop foot. If you don't know what that is, like I was not able to pick my foot up all the way, like when you walk. So I was just kind of shuffling it around. Severe drop foot on my right foot and was basically shuffling my right foot along. And I was like, well, this is fun. But at the time, and still kind of very hard headed, very just kind of like, well, I mean, I can walk, so I can still go to work. I used to only wear high heels at the time. And I remember going into my closet and was like, well, I can't wear those. So my options are my gym shoes or flats. So I wore these flats around. I knew enough to know that I need to see a neurologist. I did not need to waste time going to a
Urgent care.
PCP, an urgent care or PCP. Like I already knew that. I would, during my time at U of H, I took a course. It was communication disorders. And so I learned about all of these different disorders. And one of the disorders seemed very similar. So I was like, I need to see a neurologist. So I go see a neurologist. We do all of the testing, MRIs, blood work, whatever. And they came back February 5th and they said, oh, you have, the guy was super great. Like he had wonderful bedside manner. He was like, yeah, so you have MS. You have 21 lesions, which are basically like holes of like where the nerve. So on your nerve, there's a myelin sheath. The myelin sheath keeps the signals going to different parts of your body. So the myelin sheath was gone. So it looked like a hole. So it looked like little holes in my brain. You have 21 lesions in your brain and 2 or 3 in your cervical spinal cord. So you've had this for a while. And I just kind of was like, okay. And I remember asking my mom, weeks prior, like, do you think that this is a mess? And she was like, no, like nobody in our family has that. Like, no, it's not a mess. Like, no, but I knew it. Like, I just had a feeling like, I was like, no, this is what the shit is. Because I remember back in school being so fascinated with this disease and was like, that is just insane. So what are you talking about? So people just wake up one day and like their body attacks them. Like that's insane. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, and nobody knows how this starts. Nobody knows what the cause is. It can be genetic, maybe, but there's people that, the only person in their families that have it. Like that's insane. And so I remember that. And I had a couple of friends that have, chronic illnesses, and I would ask them and they were just like, don't say that. Don't put it out there in the universe, which, I agree with. But at the same time, it's one of those things like, it's one of those things like the information is here, right?
Yes.
Like the information is here and it's in your face. So there's no point for you to.
It's like watching a recorded sports game and still doing your superstitions.
Right. Like it's already been here. Right. Like, like the proof is already here. Like we already, you know, like on an academic level, what this is. It is what it is. And so, yeah, so I was diagnosed with MS, and it was really shitty, obviously.
Yeah, what do you do? Like, what's the like? I mean, you don't have. I mean, we don't have to talk. But I'm just. I don't think I've ever asked you this question.
Yeah.
Like, what's the reaction? Like depression? Is it like grief where you're like complete denial, or is
It's
it
a
immediately acceptance?
five stages of grief. It's five stages of grief. So like when he told me, I remember feeling like somebody had like punched me in my gut. Like I was like, even though you already knew, right? But it was like somebody punched me in my gut. Like, I'm gonna be 30 in a month. Like I had all of these plans. I thought my life was like finally getting together. And like now, I'm being told that not only do you have a disease, but you have like a disease that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. Like that's real that's tough. Like, and it was kind of like I said, like I kind of knew what was going on, but then it was also kind of like a relief in a sense because everything started to make sense. Like
Hmm.
all of like the different symptoms that I would have, like the crazy, like, fatigue, like reasons of like why, like it didn't matter if I slept 10 hours the night before, like I could, get to work and like that was my day. Like I was just like, I was good luck getting shit done, right? Like I just was not, I wasn't, didn't have it together. And there's really nothing that you can say to people for them to understand that other than like, I'm just really tired. And so you just, now I'm like, getting like coffee all day long. Like I'm trying to have my mind wake up, right? Have my brain wake up.
I'm thinking about how I would have managed this situation at Enterprise. I'm like, Ashley, get your.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, exactly. No, it was a lot of like, it was a lot of, she's lazy, like she's faking it. Like she was fine yesterday. Like,
But when you're able to take like a doctor's note in, does it change everything when you're like chronic disease?
no,
And then everybody feels really bad, like, oh, she was actually
no,
slowly.
no. I want to get into like that story, but because we'll be here all day. But and I don't want it to be triggering for anybody that maybe have gone through this, right? But no, it doesn't. For some people, it does, right? Some people like have compassion and they understand and they're like, "Fuck, bro!" Like they're empathetic. Like I can't even imagine. But then there's other people that are just like hell bent on, thinking that you're faking it or thinking that you're trying to milk something for attention or whatever the story is that they have it.
Ashley does a lot of things for attention. MS was not one of them.
And not one of them. And I don't think that I even do that anymore. Like really, like these days, I'm like, don't pay attention to me, please. Leave me alone.
We're both serious adults now, Ashley.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. Like it was difficult. It was really difficult, and it's not. It is definitely like however many stages of grief there are. I just it went out my brain, but it's definitely like the stages of grief, but also you see people in a different way, and I don't know if that's always like good or bad, but you really just kind of have to put yourself first if you weren't already doing it, which I was not. So that was really difficult for me. You just have to be like really compassionate to yourself and what it is
Hmm.
that you're going for. And you can no longer, I mean, you can, and you're always going to be depressed, but you can no longer compare yourself to your peers because your peers are not going through what it is that you're going through. And I don't want anybody to go through what I'm going through, right? Like, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But it took a long time for me to realize that, like, I can't compare myself to somebody that doesn't deal with this. Like,
Hmm.
I'm just going to continue to set myself up for failure or and for disappointment. But yeah, it was rough. And I mean, we've talked about this and I've shared it like when I've talked to, your cohorts and at Build. But it wasn't even just, that like there was times that so you have to have to start a med. You don't know how that med is going to affect you. And you don't know how that med is going to have an impact on how everything else affects you. And so there were a lot of times that like, oh, I've been using this face wash forever. Well, so now like I have like a skin reaction. And so now I can't use that anymore. Right. Like, wonderful. So now I have to, let's start looking at ingredients, and maybe I can like need to chill out and get something that's going to be a little bit more organic or a little bit more, clean. Um, a lot of food. Like for a while, I wasn't able to do dairy. So I really still to this day don't eat dairy. I went vegan for a little bit because meat just didn't agree with me. It was just like every little thing, it was always like a mixed bag. You just never knew kind of like how things were going to react or how things were going to kind of settle like within your symptoms or your system, right? So it was 3 years of hell. That's just what I always say. It was 3 years of hell. I used a walker for a lot of that 3 years because I was not able to walk unassisted. I went from wearing heels every day, and to some people, they're probably like, "Who cares?" But like as a woman, if you were wearing heels every day, and then you're unable to wear heels every day, and you have to wear flats, like that kind of is not fun, right? That is kind of you're kind of messing with your identity a little bit, right?
You had to like relearn who you were.
I had to relearn who I was, in addition to relearning how to walk, and in addition how to relearning how to write because my right hand was affected, and I'm right-handed. So
Did you learn to write left-handed?
no, I was never that cool. I decided to try to relearn how to write with my right.
Really amazing follow-up question. You're such a great interviewer.
No, no.
So I have to ask this question for like some of the impact stuff though that you've done. Like you've pivoted. So we go to China. Like you've pivoted now into this like impact storytelling role. And like,
Yeah,
I, and I'm trying to find the way to ask the question because it's like not to be like
you should just ask it.
differentiates you, but like I've noticed in like the cohorts or in the workshop you did at Build, like I think we think when we do this, and I'm guilty of it, when we do social impact work, ESG, DEI, whatever, it's like, I'll wax poetically about carrying all the traumas of the people I'm trying to help. But when you're in that space and you're with like-minded peers and somebody like you gets up and you're just like, do impact storytelling, bam, and you drop that like anvil on people. Like, I think there is something like, it is giving you a superpower to break through in a way that like, oh, are you having a rough time in your social impact job? Like, I think there's a certain thing that hits people with, like, all right, cool. Like, okay, I get it. It's a stressful thing that I've signed up to do for a living, but like, the old adage, like somebody's having a worse day than I am kind of thing. I think it kind of like gets people to ground themselves a little bit and allows you to probably more impactfully do your, not that I'm saying like, oh, isn't that, see the blessing in disguise, but there is an element though. I think now that I at least for me, it hits harder when you share that story. And especially when I watch people hearing it for the first time. So do you think in a way though, that did that either open the door for you to pursue this route? Like, was it something that came out of like this rediscovery of yourself? And do you think it's made you like more effective at breaking through when you do hit people with that? I think like, again, the reactions I've seen is like, I see people like kind of sit up in their chair and go like, maybe there's a little bit of reassurance when Ashley goes like, you got this. Like, yeah, you got this.
I think that yes and no, right? So during that first during that first workshop, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said that you needed to kind of explain your why and share your story, right? And I said, and I just, the only reason why you guys even know this, because you would never know by looking at me. You would never know. You never know what somebody's going through because people often don't look like what they've gone through, right? And that's a blessing, and that's wonderful, and I hope it continues to be that way. But the whole reason why I even tell that story is because of the brands that I work with, right? And so when I'm differentiating myself from people, other copywriters, other messaging strategists, other whatevers, like, listen, like I really have a stake in this because you helped me at a time where like I really didn't think that there was going to be anything that helped me. Right. Like, I mean, I really was just trying to make it. But brands like yours that stood for this ended up helping me, giving me back a little bit of my life. And whether that was just like because of the cosmetics that I was using, because of the food that I was eating, whatever it was still giving me the ability to like live a life. Right. Like, Because if you are, there wasn't a product that I could find that was not going to give me rashes. Well, I'm not really able to live like I'm itchy and I'm irritated because I'm itchy, right? Like I need this. You helped me not scratch, claw at my face anymore. So I was able to do my job. So I was able to make some money so that I was able to live my life, right? So it was kind of, that's the whole reason why I share it. So when I'm talking about like impact work and stuff like that, and so let's back up here. You kind of dropped me into this world of impact work, right? Like I didn't realize that I had been working with sustainable brands this entire time. Like I didn't put two and two together
Hmm.
until we had that conversation and you were like, "Oh, I work for B Corps." And I was like, "What is that?" Like, right? Like I didn't know what that was.
Not a thriving B Corp community in Nevada.
No, there's not. And then it was like, oh, the little bee that I've been seeing that I just kind of saw and didn't think anything about it, right? That's what that was. But you just kind of dropped me in this world in it. And the thing that I want to say about like storytelling too, I know we're kind of going all over the place, but like the thing that I want to say about storytelling too is, and your why and your mission and all of these things change, right? So like when I first started doing copywriting, like it really because I had a need. So like Nathan said, I was in China. So I had first 3 years of my MS life, hell. I ended up getting on a med finally that like I was able to walk unassisted. I finally felt like a person, like my brain could work, like, all of these things. Like, I'm not saying like I felt like I did before because that may never happen, but I was able to like function on a level that I was not really functioning at before. And I had the opportunity to go visit a friend who was living in China, had been living there for like 5, 6 years at that point. A day into me visiting her, I was like, fuck that. Fuck my life in America. I'm moving to China. I'm going to move here, friend. And she was like, cool. There's a second bedroom. And in 9 months, I had a job teaching English and I was living in China 9 months later. And I was in China for almost 2 years, came to the States for what I thought was going to be a nice little Chinese New Year vacation. Because again, I was a teacher and I, was writing at the time, I had 2 blogs. January 2020.
Oh, what a great time.
Wonderful time, right? To come back to America from China.
Magical memories of that year.
Yeah. And so I literally came with like pajamas and some, my backup laptop to maybe do some work if I needed to write if I needed to. But I really was just kind of like, I'm going to check out and just kind of chill at my mom's and get my parents' house and get my meds because I was still coming to America for my medication. And I left 3 days before the borders closed, unbeknownst to me. And so, I mean, I quickly found out that I was unemployed because I was a teacher and they were only going to allow us to teach online for so long. And so when I was in China, like I said, I had 2 blogs. I had lifestyle blog that just like talked about me, living my life in China with MS. And then there was a medical based blog that I talked about all of the different things that are going on within like the MS community, different medications, different ways to kind of like live your life. And it was targeted to people living with MS and their caretakers. So, you go to the doctor's telling you talking to you in doctor language. Not everybody went to school to become a doctor, so they don't know what they're talking about. So I took that information and kind of broke it down into bite-sized information in a readable way for people that don't have that, knowledge would be able to understand. And I mean, I remember being in different cafes in China and thinking to myself, like, if I could just do this, if I could just write, if I could figure out how to just write, game over. Like, that's what I want to do. So, really, when I was back in the States and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? It was like, God, universe, whatever, y'all believe in, was like, well, perfect opportunity. You don't have a job, girl. And you just
Yeah.
chilling at your parents' house. Like, what you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Accidental entrepreneur.
Accidental entrepreneur. Exactly. And so I took a copywriting course and started, pitching myself and ended up working with a luxury jewelry brand based out of New York. And they were sustainable. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Whatever. It's information for me to know for my writing, right? Like I wasn't putting anything together. And it just happened to be that like every brand in some way was sustainable. But I didn't realize that until 4 years later, right? And so when I talk to people about like your story, like your mission, like when I first started copywriting, bro, I was trying to pay some bills. I was trying to get some money. Like I was
Mhm.
not, there was no like,
I'm only going to work with mission-driven brands.
right. There was like no mission here.
Zeros behind a comma.
Right. Mission was to have people that pay money that's green. That was the mission,
Mhm.
right? There was no other anything. Like I gotta get my life together. And then it just so happened to be that I'd been kind of like in this space that I didn't even know that B Corp space even existed. So missions and whys, they change all of the time. You just have to find that through line and realize like the through line of what it is that you're doing, right? And then kind of the through line of like, why do you think that that was? Like, why do you think that subconsciously, this might get a little woo woo for people, but subconsciously, you were attracting those brands, or those brands were attracted to you, or those people were attracted to you, right? Why? There's a reason for it. Nothing's a coincidence. Nothing is ever by chance, MS included, but not excluded. But
Well, it's like the old adage, though. The person you are attracts like the friends you have, or the people around you. Or
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
if you have shady friends, you might be a shady person.
You might be a shady person, and you might not want to be a shady person, but you have to like ask yourself why shady people surround themselves, they feel comfortable being around you. That's just it, right? Like that's it. I'm not,
Mhm.
listen.
But I feel like there's a lot of analogies in like all of this to some of the impact storytelling thing. Like I heard you say like the whys and the missions change, and like I think I don't want to say storytelling gets stagnant or old, but I just see it a lot even in my work, let alone like the B Corp space and some of these, there's like this race now to be like the most mission driven business. And even with sustainability, whatever, we can say that it's all anti, but everybody's still trying to pretend to be ESG, and they still have the stock art photos of the same generic, like super diverse like group of people that work at every company in America. But like the storytelling piece is the missing part that I think people don't get, because you're such an effective, like when you tell the story, it's an effect, like it's like I can feel your feelings. And I think so many people, like that's the part that a lot of corporate storytelling absolutely misses. It's just like people want that raw, authentic voice.
So there has to be, this is something that I do and I ask people all the time, and some people get clutch the pearls and some people get upset, but I'm trying to help you, right? Why should I give a shit? The fuck does this have to do with me? So I think that the best example that we can give, right, is you're a company and you want to save the world. Cool. To your point, Nathan, everybody wants to save the world. All of these companies, they want to be like the best mission driven brand that there ever was created. And I think that's great. I think that you should be that, and I'll help you get there. However, I need to know what makes you different than oh boy or oh girl down the street that's doing the exact same thing and says that they want to do the exact same thing, right? Why? And it's one of those things, and it's definitely, and I mean, for the people that I talked to at your cohort, it is a lot of, they saw it and they had to. You have to sit with yourself, and a lot of people don't want to do that. You have to sit with yourself and you have to really understand why it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, because I have a chronic illness. In fact, I hope that it's not because you have a chronic illness. I hope that something else happened, right? Like I hope that something else just in your life brought you into this a positive thing happened. And this is the reason why you want to do this work, right? But when you are able to get down to that level, so it's 5 whys, right? So, like, why are you doing this? Like, what's your why? Why should I care? Why should I care? What would happen if you didn't do that?
Mm-hmm.
For the people that you're talking to, right? Not me. Don't ever tell me I don't exist in this equation, right? You don't exist in this equation. The people that you are helping, that you're talking to, they are the only ones that matter. So what would happen to them if you didn't do this thing, right? Why does that matter? Does it matter if this doesn't happen? It does, but you have to, I can't tell you the reason why. You have to know these things, right? And then again, why does that matter again, right? So like, keep asking yourself those questions.
You're like an annoying kid. But why? But why?
But why? You have to help people. But the thing is that especially right now, just think about your life right now, right? Just think about your life. Just, take a moment, breathe, think about your day. How many things are you attacked with? We'll use that word because that's a good visceral word. How many things are you attacked with on a daily basis? News stories, social media bullshit, text messages, family shit, ads, this, that, and the other, right? You are inundated with information all day long, whether you want to believe it or you want to admit it to yourself or you're not. You yourself, right? So if somebody is trying to advertise to you or somebody's trying to get to you, it has to be some like compelling shit for you to care right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to really have to be like, hey, yo, like if you don't do this, you'll die, right? Or something like something in your
But you're
life.
gonna break through. It's not just the advertising clutter. It's
No,
it's
it's
all the
it's
other.
it's all the right, exactly. So you like your message, especially right now, and I know it's like really scary with what is going on right now in the administration that we're under. And well, that's all I'm going to say with that. It's very, it's unnerving and it's very scary right now to be in that space. And I commend everybody that is still fighting because it would be really easy for you to not. But there are still people that are looking for the things that you are buying or sell, or that things that you are selling and the things that you are doing. So you really have to understand your customer at that cellular level to really understand what it is, why they should give a shit and they should give you money rather than somebody else. And that's just kind of and that's where you start, right? Like that's not the story. That's where you start. That's the starting point for either you or your copywriter that is doing this. And if you don't have a copywriter, then
I know one.
right.
Well, I was gonna say call Ashley.
Well, call me, right? But I am very aware of like budgets. I'm just very aware of like everything that's going on, right? Like I'm very aware. So whatever it is, however you decide to put together this message, you cannot start until that baseline information is figured out. Because everything else is just going to be noise. And if you're running ads, you're throwing your money away.
There has to be a strategy.
Right, there has to be a strategy behind this, but you can't even start the strategy until you understand that. And I
Yeah.
think that is like the biggest thing, right? Like people start these businesses and I get it because you are worried about so many other things other than like your messaging, but like your messaging is going to be the thing that's going to make or break you. You have to put aside the time to be able to think about these things. If you want to be successful, if you just, want to
Well,
whatever.
we think about existing brands too. Like the why might change too.
Yeah, and it
Like as
exactly.
you add teammates, now you have 100 people working for you or 250 people working for you. Like their collective why might be a little bit different. And so like if you're not listening to them, like you're telling the same old story. Nobody cares what your favorite nonprofit is anymore. Like there's
Yeah,
again the intentionality behind the strategy. Like missions change, values change. You said that earlier. Like that this should be like an ongoing process of reviewing what you're doing, what you're saying. And I do the impact strategy side of like, don't just do it intentionally. Same thing with
yeah,
storytelling. Storytell intentionally, but you have to understand the why. What are we trying to accomplish in my case, and why are we trying to accomplish in your case? Marry those two, and you're going to make some magic.
exactly. But then you also have to please don't be tone deaf and please understand what is going on in the world and in your communities and what is going to matter to them as well, right?
We're not talking about a certain Pepsi commercial, are we?
Talking about a lot of things right now, but
Might have had a Jenner in it.
yeah,
Kendall Jenner solved systemic racism with a can of
with
Pepsi.
a can of Pepsi, baby. That's all. If that was all it took.
Oh, that's in every slide deck for every one of my class lectures. I have that, and then just like, or this doozy.
Yeah.
I also use that to drive home the importance of having a diverse team because nobody nobody would have signed off on that. Sorry.
But not only have a diverse team, but don't do it just for optics. You need to really have a diverse team and listen to the diversity that's coming from that team, because that's the
Yeah,
whole point. That's the whole reason why you should have had one to begin with, right?
and that's gonna be part of your story.
And don't do it because, oh, I want to be, whatever it is that you have in your brain that you say that you want to be. That's so you can be opposite of somebody else.
You might miss the target.
Exactly. You might need to. I think that the big thing here, the big takeaway here is something that people don't want to do, because they have to look at themselves. You have to really sit with yourself. I think it's easier for like solopreneurs, obviously. If we're doing like corporations, then we really need to be looking at what the overall why is for the corporation, who it is that you guys are trying to target, why this would matter to them. Why does it matter to them? And then we need to create the story around that. But my biggest pet peeve, within this space is, these missions that are like, our mission is to blah, 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 blah. Because you see that and you just automatically eyes glaze over. I don't care that what your mission is because you're not even talking to me.
Save the world.
Yeah. Well, hit me with like a good hook, hit me with like a, you know, whatever your business is, however it is that you help people, hit me with like, what would happen if I didn't go with you?
Yeah. What other, because we're almost at time, what other parting words of wisdom or wild card? Hopefully there's no more embarrassing stories of Nathan. Would you like to leave our guests our listeners with?
I'm gonna leave the embarrassing things with you because
Yes. Because I could give them right back.
but we could do a whole podcast on that. I think that the parting words are what I've just been saying. You really need to sit with yourself and understand your why. Again, solopreneur. If you are a big corporation, then you need to look at your customers, the people that you want to be your customers, right? And what it is that they're struggling with, and how you can help them, and why they should care, right? But in order to do that, you have to talk to people. So the whole reason why you have this is to help people. So you really need to talk to the people that it is that you say that you're trying to help. And I think that a lot of people don't want to do that for whatever reason. But you should really make time and an effort to do that if you want this to be successful. And then if you need help, Ashley Bryant Coffee. All my information's below.
I feel like it's very powerful advice, even for just individuals that maybe work in social impact, don't have a business, aren't writing copy, like understanding, like doing that reflection of the why. Why am I doing this work? Who am I trying to help? Am I talking, like, for me, like the homeless stuff, like I talk to a lot of the people when I'm out picking up trash. So like that, like there's an informed opinion that comes with listening that I think is underrated. So thank you for dropping that in.
You're welcome. And just remember shit too, like this is not about you. And it's okay for you to, whatever comes up when you're, this is going to get very woo, but whatever comes up while you're like sitting with yourself. And if you're like, but that's not what like it was supposed to be before, that's not what I thought that this was going to be, or maybe I don't want to do this anymore, then you should go with that too. Because if you don't,
Again, a good
then
theme for the show, like values change, missions change.
yeah,
Like something that made you happy 3 years ago might not give you the meaning it does. And
that's
taking
okay.
the time to reflect, well, you'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So, all right, I got to wrap. We're over, but again, yeah. Well, whatever. I'll just call you after this. Oh my God, Ashley, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for like telling your story, because that has to, like, there's an element of it that I assume sucks to like relive that and kind of deal. But I think it's important. I think on the behalf of people out there that probably need to hear that story, not just to like feel sympathy for you, but I think to put their own lives in perspective and their own struggles in perspective. And again, you could probably hear somebody else's story that would put yours in perspective, but just on behalf of everybody listening, I like to say thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing that and all the lessons that came out of it with us. I would like to also thank you for reminding people of how ratchet I was at 23 years old in Las Vegas with 212s in the back of a Mercury Milan. Boy, was I cool.
With your chain too, because you came straight from Miami.
Straight chain, lined up fade, black and mild, probably a freaked black and mild. Anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. I'm done
No,
embarrassing
thank you.
myself. And just glad we got to share one of our conversations with the public. So always fun.
100%. Thank you so much for having me. Y'all take care of yourself.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Be the Change Georgia. We're grateful, as always, for the opportunity to serve you with this content and grow this incredible community of purpose-driven B Corp leaders. If you haven't already, we would be grateful for you to rate this show wherever you get your podcasts by simply tapping the number of stars you think it deserves and sharing it with a friend. This helps us get the word out and continue to use our collective influence as a force for good. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the help from our production team at Chat with Leaders Media. Learn how you can launch your own podcast to grow your business at chatwithleaders.com. Thanks again for listening, and now go be a leader worth following.